Raw. Red. Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Ladies in red. Discuss the latest news, just fans giving their views. This channel is red. They see the bar and raise it, plus they rep for the ladies. Trust it's red. Female voices in football. Red. If you want to talk up, it's a red channel for me and you. Subscribe and tune into the ladies in red.
Hi guys, welcome back to Ladies in Red. I'm absolutely buzzing to announce the panel. I've got the ladies back, the regulars Nat and Maze, which I'm happy about, and of course the lovely Alice is joining us again. I'll start with a new guest. Alice, thank you so much for joining us on Ladies in Red. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, thanks. Just hoping Man United actually do something to make me feel better.
I think we all feel the same. I just feel drained, honestly, and we'll get into that in a minute. I'm sure we've got plenty to say about the United transfer situation. But of course, we're joined by the lovely Maze, and I just want to point out the Portugal shirt as well. I have to touch on that. But Maze, thank you so much for joining us again. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. So, how are you? And repping Portugal and Bruno Fernandes on this shirt.
It's got to be done. To be fair, I'm a bit more geeky than you. I'm repping Stranger Things, so I mean, I'm not as cool as you, but I'll still rock it anyway. Who cares? And then of course we've got the amazing Nat. Nat, thank you so much for joining us this evening. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm not really repping anything. It just says laugh. That's me, I suppose.
Vibes,
yeah, why not? Yeah, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So, especially with Man United. So, yeah. Let's just all laugh, have a good time.
We're all smiling through the pain at the minute, honestly. And seeing teams in and around us make signings, it's just heartbreaking at the minute. I'm just hoping there is a plan long term. We are being concerned and worried rightly, but I'm hoping that by the end of the window, actually that kind of goes a little bit. And Ten Hag does have a bit of magic up his sleeve, but I'm not confident on that because we know how this club is run. I don't think any of us are confident on that, to be fair. I think it's very much wishful thinking for sure. But first, I want to touch on the reports that are coming out today. Reports are Pogba has gone back to Juventus. Obviously, he's released his Pogumentary. Don't know if you guys have seen it. I'm not going to be tuning into that. I also read tweeted that was the worst rated series on Netflix, on Prime, or wherever it was on, 1.1 rating or something. I don't know how true that is, but I saw that on Twitter. If it is true, then that is pretty funny. But yeah, I think Paul Pogba, great player, but I think all of us are kind of glad that circus is kind of done with and over with. I mean, Nat, I'll start with you on Paul Pogba's situation. Going back to Juventus, firstly, like, how do you feel about that move? Do you think that's a good move from him? And also, as from a United point of view, are you glad?
From an United point of view, I'm glad, that he's gone. Like you say, circus, Pogumentary, whatever, it's just stupid. I mean, I know a journalist and he's sitting there like watching all the, and I get it, like they do watch YouTubes, apparently, like he was watching like Stretford Paddock and stuff like that, and reading different things, and it's just always about like him inflating his ego and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I would be what we saw this season, I'd be ashamed. I would say, no, take it off the air, because he was part of that. No matter, whoever he blames, he was part of it. He was part of the team, that worst performance ever. So I'd be like, take it off the air. Yeah, it's not even doing that well, like you say, 1.1 anyway. So there you go. But it is about time now. I think he thought it would be a big. Every team in the world would be after him, but it's not been the case. And he's going back to Juventus. Whether it'll be the same, because they've not, the where the Juventus that he left, it's not the same sort of caliber of player, and maybe they'll expect more of him, as they should. He had all Italian legends sort of backing him up there, whereas now he's sort of probably going to be the main guy. Then they'll be expecting a lot more, like forward and offensively and defensively, and that's probably what he didn't want to do at United. I think he can do it, but he just didn't show it. And he was saying stuff like, "Oh, I need to be loved," and all this. And it's like, "Oh, well, go and be loved over there now. Stay away from us. Thanks for everything. Bye."
Yeah. I mean, the comments afterwards saying that the club offered him nothing when it was like 300k a week, I believe he was offered. I mean, if that's nothing, then my bank balance is, I don't know what my bank balance is, because 300k a week is a joke of an offer for a player who you'd say has been as inconsistent as he has as well. I mean, Prince, thank you. First, I'm going to touch on that. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. He said, "This is the latest Galacticos." Thank you so much. I appreciate that kind comment. But yeah, with Paul Pogba, look, there's no doubt about his ability. One of the best players in the world on his day. But at United, unfortunately, we just didn't see his day enough for whatever reason. Whether that was a lack of quality around him, whether it was him not being loved, whether it's the whole commercial side of things, and with his agent and whatnot as well, the constant flirting with other clubs and stuff, which it just isn't healthy for us fans as well. But like I said, the comments after, I mean, it's hard to defend it, is it? I mean, Alice, I'll get your thoughts on Paul Pogba. Because obviously he's a great player. I'm not taking that away from him, but I think we're all kind of sick and tired of the drama around it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched the documentary. I don't care. He's not a United player anymore. I knew he was leaving on a free. I was like, I don't give a shit where he's going. But I think with Pogba, he is a good player. We know he's a great player. He hasn't been awful, but he's not been consistent. He's not been the signer we hoped him to be. I do give him the benefit of the doubt of we never built a team around him or had a stable system in. I think everyone's been inconsistent. But then you look at Bruno. Bruno had 2 seasons where he was amazing and did more than Pogba, I think, in 5 years. And then Bruno's dropped off this season. So everyone's dropped off. But I think we've had players that have had bigger impact than him. I do think when we played Matic, Herrera, Pogba as a midfield 3 for about 15 games, we saw consistency, momentum, and the best out of Pogba. And I think we've not really built a midfield around Pogba, which is, I think, my only defence of him. I think if we'd have built a midfield around Pogba and a system around Pogba, he might have flourished. And we didn't do that. And the boards are idiots. We all know that. But it's the fuss that comes with him. And although he wants to stay, he wants to leave. And can he be bothered, and does he care? And it's just I think for the money he's on, for the name he is, and it was just all the drama around it. It was just like towards the end, I was like, I just want him gone. Like, he doesn't want to be here. He's a good player. We either build a team around him and get the best out of him, because I watch him play for France and I'm like, I want to see that Paul Pogba. But it's not meant to be.
Yeah. Exactly, like I say, for whatever reason, it just didn't work, and I do think the lack of quality around him, you have to give him that, because there was a lack of quality, especially in that midfield, and at times I think he was asked to play a role that probably didn't suit him. Like at France, we know he's got more of that free role, and having someone like Kante next to him, of course, it's going to make it a bit more safe in that middle for him to do his risky little flicks and whatnot. I also think the Premier League as well, like I think in Italy, he'd probably get away with that. How many times did we see in the Premier League where, I mean, sure, against Liverpool not too long ago, and I'm still scarred from that game, obviously being there, but getting caught out in the midfield by trying to be a bit too flashy, and you just can't do that, you know what I mean? And when it comes off, it looks amazing. When it doesn't, you're in trouble. And I think with Paul Pogba, Italy probably will suit him a bit better. I have no doubt, like I say, I think he'll do well out there. But from my point of view, I mean, a lot of people label Paul Pogba as world class, and I'm going to throw this question to you guys, and obviously, Maze, you'll be the first one to have a discussion on this, but can you be world class if you aren't consistent? That's my question, I think, because I think you can have world class potential, but can you class him as a world class player on the basis of how consistent he was at United? And I mean, Maze, what's your thoughts on Paul Pogba?
I actually watched the first episode of the Pogba documentary. I shouldn't have done, because it annoyed me watching that first episode, but I did watch it, and hearing his agent say the reason why he left Man United the first time is because he was disrespected by Sir Alex Ferguson. That is what he said. He said it wasn't about money, it's because he was disrespected by Sir Alex. And you look at that and you think, if that is how Paul Pogba truly felt, why did you come back a second time? If you felt you were disrespected by our club, why did you come back? That sparks to me, did he come back because the wage packet was a lot better at Manchester United? For me, that would have been the only reason why he probably wanted to come back, because he hasn't been consistent. He's had 16 different injuries in 5 years at Manchester United.
Is that how many he's had? Wow.
Yeah, 16 different injuries.
I didn't know that.
Juventus, he only had 2 injuries in 5 years. So I look at them kind of instances with Paul Pogba. You look at how he can be on the pitch compared to France and Manchester United. He isn't the same player. So I just genuinely don't think that he wanted to be at Manchester United initially, if you want me to be honest. I don't think he is a world-class player. I think what he does, when you see him at Juventus, you could have said, yeah, he is a world-class player, but looking at Manchester United, no, he isn't a world-class player. He's probably good at best, because he hasn't shown to me that he can do it at a club he's supposed to love. The club who's supposed to have brought him up and made him the player he is. So I don't think he's a world-class player, not at all.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it showed flashes of it. And I'm not doubting that. A lot of ability in Paul Pogba, and I think that's why a lot of us are pulling our hair out, because we know how good he can be on his day. And like I say, just whether he wanted it enough, who knows? That move back to us maybe was to do with his commercial side of things. Obviously, record-breaking fee, made out to be like the face of the new project at United and whatnot. And like I say, it just didn't work out. But we're all going to move on from Paul Pogba because he's moved on and we've all moved on. Nobody's bigger than a club, and we know that. And then we need to look at the players who could be potentially coming in, and potentially in capitals there, inverted commas, however you want to put it, because we haven't signed anybody yet, as Alice has already alluded to. And I don't know about you guys, I'm sick of looking through Twitter and seeing the same old rumours being recycled over and over again. Nothing new seems to be developing. And it's just mind-numbing. I mean, Nat, I'll start with you on the whole Dejong debacle. Obviously, Dejong is a player that we seem to be chasing constantly. I've seen today Barcelona have put a bid in apparently for Lewandowski. Does that mean maybe there is a bit of movement that's happening because of their financial situation?
Well, that's what I heard. I heard it's all... well, this is what stresses me out a bit about... It seems to be negotiating for about 10 years. They seem to all be living in Barcelona for the length of time they've been out there doing this deal. But that's what I've heard. I've heard it might be domino. That's the most reasonable excuse I've heard. I've heard once money goes there, then Lewandowski can go buy it, and then we can get Barca, and then we can get Dejong, and maybe they're waiting to announce him to then sort of tailor that blow. But for me, the way it's going on, like you said, recycled rumours, it just feels like Fabregas again. And I know, like, it might not be.
Sign him.
Yeah, because sign him, he's free now. That's what we will end up doing. But we've lived this, you know what I mean? And they're saying, oh, it's different. Oh, it's Richard Arnold this time and John Murray. And I do like John Murray, and I do think Richard's all right. But it's still the same people above them, and they're still the same owners, and I just think it's still the same.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just why I don't believe any of it now, until they're properly holding up the T-shirt with it signed. I mean, someone could say it if it's done, but I mean, even Sancho last year, I thought, yeah, it's done, but even that dragged out longer than probably if it was supposed to be so done. Than what you would have liked. I'm just waiting. I think they do hopefully know what they're doing this time round, but you can never be sure because we've lived this for so long, and I can't get excited over it anymore.
No, it's like deja vu, isn't it? Every transfer window. And I think when Ten Hag was announced as well, we were all buzzing because we were like, oh, things are going to change around here. We're going to get his signings in early. We knew we'd be linked to every Ajax player under the sun, and that's obviously happened. But I felt like there'd be at least one player in by now. Maybe one of his Ajax players. I thought there'd be one player coming in by now. Obviously, Antony, Timber have been linked with us as well, and we'll talk about them shortly. But Dejong seems to be the one that is the most prominent, the one that we are chasing the most at the minute. I mean, Maisie, Dejong is a very good player. Obviously, it's a lot of money that is being quoted for him. Do you think he is the answer? Like getting him in, like is he the potential midfielder we need, or do you still think there's more? Because we know how weak we are in that midfield.
Yeah, we are definitely weak in the midfield, and you could never really say this person is the answer until we actually see him playing for Manchester United. I know, obviously, other fans who have bought players have said, is he the answer? And you can just always say you never really know until how that player performs on the pitch. I do think we do need more than one midfielder. I think we do definitely need a defensive midfielder. We know Dejong has said he wants to be the midfield who gets the ball off the defenders. So we know what type of role he will play, and I think that will be how Ten Hag is going to use him. But I do think we need a proper, solid defensive midfielder, especially knowing that we have lost Matic. So even if we do get Dejong, we still need to get another midfielder at least to try and strengthen around us, to try and at least get the best we can out of this Manchester United team, and as well as the right back, which I'm not going to go into, of course. But I just think at the moment, it's too early for me to say if he's the answer or not, but I'm willing to give that chance to Dejong, especially knowing Ten Hag knows how he works.
Yeah, and I think another player that we have to consider, obviously I know there's a lot of McTominay hate, and McTominay for me is a squad player. He's not one that should be starting for United. I think he should be a squad player, but not starting. But Fred is a player that under Ralph, I think we saw a significant improvement. And I think obviously with the depressing season that we had, a lot of people kind of forgot about his form, but especially when Ralph first came. And he obviously played probably more of an 8. He was getting forward a lot more and whatnot. But do you think maybe Fred in that midfield is being considered? Do you think under Ten Hag that he could be the answer, if you like? And because obviously Fred he's got a year and a bit left on his contract now, maybe 2 years. Like, he ain't got long, has he? So obviously he's the one that we need to make a decision on. We spent a lot of money on Fred as well. He's another one in terms of, we said about Pogba, where on his day I think he can be absolutely brilliant. But what I will say about Fred is his tenacity in that middle, I think at times is unmatched. He does not stop. You can never fault that in that middle. I think he would be vile to play against in terms of nipping around people's ankles. It's normally on the ball that we've had a Fred ache because he's just so rash on the ball and gives it away, and it's just hasn't been good enough. But maybe under a manager like Ten Hag, we'll see him develop. That's what I'd like to see. I mean, Alice, where do you stand on Fred's situation?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you with the Fred McTominay situation. McTominay's always been a bench, but there's something about Fred that I think, again, Ralph and Ten Hag both play high pressing football. I think Fred he's got the energy to do that, the mobility and all of that. But as I said with Fred, and as you said, like, he's excelled as an 8, not a 6. And Dejong isn't a 6. Donny isn't a 6. They're Ten Hag's 8.
Bruno's not a 6. Yeah.
Bruno's not a 6. McTominay's not a 6 as well. He looks better out of the pitch. We've got no one as a 6. And I'm like, well, look, I think, Donny, Dejong, hopefully he comes, and Fred will be brilliant under Ten Hag. I think they will keep his system fine. They're the 3 players I'm least worried about. But it's like, if you're playing Fred as a 6, you're going to get the Fred that gives the ball away. If you're playing McTominay as a 6, you're just going to get, And for me, if we get a 6, and even if it's like you drop Bruno and we get a 6 and it's Dejong and Fred, like further ahead as 2 8s, brilliant. But I think for me, I like Fred. He's a player definitely to keep around. He's a player that I think has been one of our better players this season. But he shined as an 8. And I'm worried because Matic gone, we're going to play him as a 6. And that is where we'll be in trouble again.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Totally agree with you. And yeah, sure, of course I got my tea. You know me, always got my cup of tea. Showing my age there. I was a nice little cuppa after work on an evening, but that's what I do. It's how I roll. But yeah, I think Dejong is a very good player. He definitely improves us. But I do agree with what you guys have said there, that I still think we need that disciplined midfielder. A lot of people were saying it could have been Bissouma. Missed out on him, he's gone to Spurs. I've heard rumours that Kante could be coming. That would be the most United thing, wouldn't it, though? I mean, for us to sign Kante now, I'm not saying we are, but if we did, with Pogba just leaving, that seems like the most United signing, I think, ever, because we know them two together in that midfield would probably bring us that balance. So, yeah.
Getting a player when it's just towards the end, to be honest. I love Kante. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't, he's had a few bit more injuries this season, and if Chelsea got rid of him, I think he'd be a good player, though. I just really love him, but yeah, he is. It's like when we signed Matic, we're getting him at the end, and then you sort of keep, you sort of always then thinking we need someone young, we need someone up and coming kind of thing, because he's not going to be around forever. And no to that. That's just what I'd say.
Yeah.
No to Harry. No to any kind of defender as a 6.
I'm just trying to work that out. I'm trying to picture how that would work. Like, yeah, no to that. Definitely not.
Yeah.
I'd probably see more of Lindelof pushing forward into the midfield rather than Maguire, if I'm honest, if I had to choose a centre-back. But yeah, I don't want that to be the case at all.
Yeah. I just want to get real players in their actual real positions, you know what I mean? And just feel like we've had all this kind of playing this one as this, playing that one as that. I just want to get an actual 6, an actual 8, an actual 10 playing in the actual positions, I've had enough of this sort of trying to fix.
I think Mata's the prime example, isn't he? Mata at United, we played him out of position so often. When he played in that 10, like, he could be so effective, and it's so frustrating because I love Juan Mata. I mean, his video when he left and stuff as well, that's the only one that actually got me, because I was just, what a guy. And to think that we wasted a lot of his time at United, if we're being brutally honest, by just forcing him out wide, just trying to accommodate players. And we shouldn't be doing that at United. We should not be doing that, but unfortunately we did, and I think he's the prime example of that. But I'm going to throw it to all 3 of you, and obviously jump in. But who would you say, like, for that 6 role that we're talking about out there, who would you go for if you're United looking in the market right now? Because Bissouma would have been one for me, but then other than that, like, there's a few names obviously that have cropped up, but there's no real. I haven't seen us linked with a major number 6, to be honest.
I would have said Tchouaméni if he didn't go to Madrid, but that was such a big name. I think because Matic was quite a physical presence and quite big, I would say maybe Sangare, but I've only seen him play about twice, and that would just be going off from what I've heard and what I kind of know what he's like. But there's not a name that jumps out. You could say Edson Alvarez of Ajax just because he played under Ten Hag, but
it's a good comment.
James Garner as well, but is he Prem ready? I think he's better than what we have at the moment, though. for
I
that
think if
sixth
I'm
role.
Ten Hag, I'm definitely having a look at Garner in pre-season. After the 2 seasons he's had at Forest, obviously Forest have gone up. He was always a standout player for them. I watched quite a bit of Forest whenever they were on because of James Garner. And I think he had some key contributions, set pieces. He definitely provides a bit of quality as well. And I think Ten Hag will be wanting to have a look at him. Obviously, we yet to see whether he is ready yet. But you don't know unless you try, I guess. But I wouldn't rely solely on James Garner. I think that's my point I'll make. I still think we need to make a signing. But I hope that we do see a lot more of Garner playing next season. But again, is he an out-and-out number 6? I'm not so sure about that. Maybe as a 2 in there, as 2 CDMs, but I don't know if he's that sole player. Do you know what I mean? He's going to cover the ground. But Tchouameni was definitely one that I would have loved. But I think from the start, it was pretty evident that he was going to be going to Real Madrid. And unfortunately, they've just bolstered that already world-class midfield they've got with the likes of Camavinga in there as well, which is just... Do they need all that quality? Do you know what I mean? Like, share a little bit. You can see it was over here struggling. But yeah, Maze, I mean, ideally in the midfield, given what's available, I mean, there's not a lot of it, being brutally honest, if you're looking like big name stars players. Who would you be looking for in that midfield? And I've seen the chat get involved as well and give us some suggestions.
This is the thing. The players who I personally would have had for that 6th role, they're taken. Gravenberch from Ajax, I would have took him, gone to Bayern Munich. Kesse, near enough going to Barcelona. I think that was stupid for Manchester United and not getting a pre-contract.
They can't even register him, can they? At the minute,
they can't register him yet, but I can't see him getting going because of that either. If for example that is the case, I think he'll probably extend to AC Milan. So I don't even think we've got no chance there either. Another one who I would have took, I know this is quite controversial, Calvin Phillips. He would be another defensive midfielder I would take. I think the way he plays, he reminds me of a bit more like Rodri because he goes forward at that time to time. He can play as an 8 as well. So he's another one who I would have took. And Declan Rice is another option, but he's far too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, Rice, I've said it for time, like, he would be my ideal signing for midfield. But when that price came out, like, yeah, we can't be rinsed like that. Like, he's a great player, but we would need him to try and force a move away from West Ham, and that just isn't going to happen as well. So I think with Declan Rice, I think it's unlikely. As much as I would love him, I'd think, like you said, I think the price out of it. But I think Phillips is an interesting one. Obviously, it depends on price. I think if Leeds went down, then I'd be like, you know what?
He's
no
about 50
questions.
Mil. He's at the moment 50 mil.
It's a lot of money, isn't it? It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I'm reading things at the minute, like Sterling going to Chelsea, and it's like 35 million. You just know if it was United who were in for Sterling, you're talking over 60 million for, you know what I mean? It's just that, unfortunately, that's what happens. There was a video recently with Richard Arnold talking to the fans. I'm going to touch on it because I haven't really spoke about it, but he did talk in there about the money is there and stuff like that. A lot of people were kicking off saying that video should have been leaked and whatnot, because I feel that gives us a disadvantage in terms of telling other teams that we have got the money, so we will get rinsed. So players like Calvin Phillips, for example, Leeds are going to ask the world for. I mean, where do you guys stand on that video in the first place? Like, do you think that it's good for us fans to see that? I think fair play, by the way, to Richard Arnold for talking to the fans. I'm going to say that. I think fair play to him. But obviously, we've been left out of the loop, and I think for him to come out and do that, it takes some balls, and I do think he deserves credit for that. But in terms, I mean, Nat, I'll start with you on it. I know that you saw the video. Where did you stand on it as a fan? Because I was kind of mixed. I was happy that I saw it, but at the same time, I was thinking, oh, like, are they ever going to talk to us again, kind of thing? Do you know what I mean? That's how I felt.
Yeah, I think Man United, the fact that they are so quiet, secretive, whatever you want to say, you know, the fact that they don't communicate, it has sort of, I suppose, led to a point where they were going to go and whatever and go to his house. I think fair play that he actually said, listen, lads, don't go to my house. Let's sit down and actually have a chat. Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah, and I think it was come out that he said, don't record it. But obviously the guy did. I mean, they could have had that chat. I think, you know, what happens nowadays, everyone says, well, how do you know that? How do you know? I think they would have even taken a picture of him and said, well, here he is. And still somebody said they're lying. There's people are still saying they're lying even after seeing the video. So it's one of them where you do want it to come out, but I just think United could do so much better. I think they could, you know, I think after like the Super League, they could have come out and said, right, we're going to do all this, but it's just like little brief statements. Oh, we're going to do better. Oh, it's going to be better. Well, tell us how it's going to be better. Tell us why it's going to be better. Yeah. And if they could have scripted things, and like you say, because that's just him sitting around a pub and just having a chat and saying, oh, this it annoyed me as well, and all. Yeah, fair enough. You don't want all that stuff coming out, but you know, they could have done it better, a lot better. There's so many fans of Man United, and the way they communicate with the fan base is just poor. So, you know, we saw Woodward did that one interview that one time and it went badly, but you do want them to come out and speak and say it as it is. And, you know, it's led to this fan. Obviously, people are kicking off with him, but I think people make mistakes, and I think, you know, obviously he just thought, let me get this proof that it's happening. And, you know, I wouldn't have leaked it. I would have made, fair enough if you'd done the thingy, but I wouldn't have just put it out without sort of thinking about it, thinking how it's done. It's sort of just led to nothing now, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that person who leaked it was obviously at a lose-lose, because, like you say, they don't leak it and you say, oh, Richard said this, but no one's going to believe it. So you kind of have to, especially on a platform like Twitter, you know how hostile it can be. Like, people just don't believe it unless they see it. So there is that element of things. A lot of people believe that it was just a big PR stunt. A lot of people think he's just done that to front off the mob that was obviously heading for his house and whatnot. I mean, Alice, where do you stand on the whole Richard Arnold conversation? Like, did you respect him for doing that? Or are you a bit like Nat, where you say, you know what, words are good enough, but we want action now?
I mean, again, actions speak louder than the words, and all of that. I don't know if it was a PR stunt to the extent of, like, he didn't have a script or anything. He was swearing, and the conversation seemed quite casual. I'm glad that he did it, because that's the first time in years that we had a sit down and we've had answers. It's annoying in the sense that it's recorded, because now they're going to be really suspicious if it happens again. But I think we needed to see the recording to actually see proof and believe it. That's the thing. I don't think I'd have believed if I didn't see the recording. But I have respect for Arnold for actually going and talking to the fans, and I think some of the things he said, like, you know, look, you know, we spent £1 billion, but you can't see it on the training pitch. You know, he was making some good points as well. And people could say he's telling us what we want to hear. You know, at the end of the day, with Richard Arnold, his intentions might be right, and everything he's saying might be what he's hoping to do. But again, actions speak louder than words. And, you know, I don't think we can say it's a PR stunt, because at the end of the day, Richard Arnold might want to do this, but the Glazers just might not let him. But I just think what we'll see, I guess, at the end of the transfer window or in years to come.
Yeah, it's interesting, because when he was saying, oh, the money's there and whatnot, and obviously his fans were thinking, well, where is it then? Like, you know what I mean? But it seems like he was just as bemused as his fans, and he was obviously taking a bit of a dig above him. It felt like when I saw that. But I mean, Maze, I know you watched the video as well. Where do you stand? Like, do you think, you know what, well, everyone said, to be fair, at the end of the transfer window, maybe it'll be a bit more clear on as to whether it was a PR stunt, whether it was a script, whether it actually did mean what he said. Because it does seem like he did say some words that were kind of digging at the Glazers. Obviously, a lot of people believe that Ralph was kind of kicked out because he outed them, and he had no loyalty to the players and whatnot as well. He said some things that maybe the club didn't want, and that a lot of people believe he was kind of pushed out the door in that sense. And a lot of people think Richard Arnold is now going to be in trouble because of the comments that he made. But yeah, do you think it's one of them where time will tell? And do you defend him for doing what he did?
I think fair play for Richard for speaking to the fans, but there's a difference between speaking and doing. The words that he has said, he hasn't displayed it so far. Especially since the video has came out, and I even thought, when I was looking at it, I didn't think it was a PR stunt. It looks like it did get recorded behind his back, like he didn't know about it. So for me, I was there thinking to myself, if Richard he'll probably get sacked because of this. I was thinking in my mind, he's done. He's gone. And if that's the case, that also speaks about Ralph. Did he get sacked, or did he really leave Manchester United? Because people saying he got sacked because he called out certain things at Manchester United, and the owners and the board didn't like it in the end. So if he does end up getting sacked, you know that it's because he's spoken out. But I think if he said all this, and I do believe he has, he does need to show to the fans what he wants to do, because it's good enough saying this and this, but nothing's getting done about it. And this is actually, if we don't sign anyone in this month, this will be the first time since 2010 or 11 we've not made a single signing in January. That is pretty poor considering what we're at right now with the club. I think the only reason why the fans are so angry is because we've already lost 5 players. We have no clue what's going on. We've hit rock bottom. So you'd even think, as the board and the owners, we all know what the owners are like, but you'd think even they want a little bit better, because, you know, they're all for Champions League money. So you'd think that they'd at least want to get the Champions League money back.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of no players coming in at the moment, you mentioned it there, with players going out, I think that's why we expected it to be such a sudden influx of players. We expected there to at least be one by now because of the players that have left. You think, oh, there's a plan in place, we've got a list. Do you know what I mean? Ralph's been working on a list of players before he left, and we just haven't seen that. I saw someone's put a comment earlier saying we let Kamara go to Villa on a free. Do you know what I mean? Players like Eriksen, if we miss out on Eriksen, to stay at Brentford or to go to Spurs or whatever may happen, like you'd have to say is if we are in for Eriksen, surely we have to get him. I mean, where do you stand on Eriksen? Because he's a quality player. Total respect for him coming back after what happened as well. Nothing but love for the player. Obviously, he's worked with Ten Hag in the past. He also went back to Ajax to train, didn't he, during his recovery and whatnot. Would you take him? And it's yet another midfielder, but yet another midfielder that you'd say doesn't really suit the kind that you'd say we need most desperately, but he definitely improves us.
Yeah, take him if that's sort of what I mean. We're hearing that they're working on a reduced budget. I don't know, they've heard different things. Some people are saying no, he's got a great budget. Some people are saying no, it's sort of not as big as before. I mean, Richard Seymour said we've got the money, so there you go. But yeah, I do think let's take him. I think we're talking about all these other players that we missed out on. Why not go and get him? He's on a free, and like what you just said then. So if we can't secure it, then I'd be really worried. If he stays at Brentford over coming to United, then you just have to just say what is going on? What is really going on? Is this where we're at now that we can't attract Christian Eriksen from Brentford? Yeah, and I know it might be the London thing. I get it, but for me, no, there's no way that you'd pick that. But then,
if we're in for him, surely we get him. You know what I mean? That's my thinking. And I know it's arrogant because I'm a United fan, and I know we're not the same United that we once were. But that's my mindset. If we're in for a player, surely we should be going all out to get him, especially someone on a free like Eriksen. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Alice. Look, I don't think any of us are questioning how good of a player Eriksen is. I guess it's more of a case of where does he fit in, isn't it? Would you like him at United?
Yeah, I definitely like him at United. I think especially because we haven't signed anyone. I honestly would take anyone in the world right now, pretty much. I'm just so fed up. But I've heard that Eriksen's really key to Ten Hag's plans, how he wants to attack for the midfield. And I'm brilliant. It's not for me the end of the world if we don't get Eriksen because Donny and Bruno can play that role. I think he's really kind of a Mata replacement. And, knowing Man United, they'll sign Eriksen and count it as a signing, even though he's a 3, and say, oh, you got 4 players, but if you sign Eriksen, you kind of get 3 players in Eriksen, and I don't want United to use that as an excuse not to sign elsewhere. But I like Eriksen, and at the end of the day, if Ten Hag wants him, then I want him, and it's if this is the guy that Ten Hag wants and is in Ten Hag's plans, we need to get him. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Bush said here, I feel bad for Ajax. Their team is getting torn apart like Monaco in 2017. It's not. The rumours are that it's going to be, but I don't believe everything that I read, to be fair. Obviously, Timber, I don't think we'll get him. And I've been linked with Martinez as well. Arsenal, I think, are also interested in him as well. I believe Newcastle as well. I'm sure I've read that at some point. A lot of teams seem to be sniffing around Ajax players at the minute. And obviously, Antony's another one. But I believe with Antony, yet again, we've been haggling over it, we've been delaying over it, and now Ajax have kind of fed up and just upped the price even more for him. And that's what's going to happen if you drag your feet in the market, isn't it? But Eriksen, Maze, where do you stand on him? Would you take him at United? Do you think he improves us?
I actually like Eriksen. I think he's a great player, Premier League proven, which is great. What I like about Eriksen is a gentleman on and off the pitch. And I think we kind of need that kind of player in the dressing room. Just as Alex said, he is a bit like a Juan Mata replacement in terms of how his nature is. But I would 100% take him. I don't think, of course, he will be that starting 11 player like he has been at Brentford. But Manchester United is a different challenge for him. I know that he's played at Spurs, he's played at Brentford, 2 London clubs. So to come to Manchester United into a developing team, and if that's going to work, he will be known there as the team that helped Ten Hag build. He will be in that kind of squad and a player who people will remember. So I would 100% take Christian Eriksen just for what he is on and off the pitch.
Yeah, and we also have to take into account we are in the Europa League. We do need to rotate players. We have lost we will lose probably 6-7 players. And so obviously we do need to strengthen that squad. We do need to be able to rotate. And I know we've said like Sagana, Ahmad, Hannibal, players like that, we'd like to see a bit more rotation from this season, as well as many youngsters that obviously we want to rotate and use as well. But I do think it is important. I mean, you look at it's 5 substitutions as well, isn't it, next season? So obviously you're looking at that, you want to make use of your bench as best as possible. Like the stronger teams, obviously with the bigger squads, have got more of an advantage. And we don't fall into that bracket at the minute because I don't think we have got the strength in depth to be able to say, oh, look, we make use of those 5 subs. Do you know what I mean? So it'd be interesting to see what happens 100%. But let's switch our attention from transfers for a second. Obviously, we spoke about Eriksen and Dejong, but captaincy for next season is still very much up for grabs, it seems, as well. Firstly, do any of you girls believe that Maguire will stay as captain next season? No. I was like, no. Straight face, no. So who do you girls want to replace him then as captain next season? I'll start with you, Maze, on this one. Like, who would your ideal captain be?
My ideal captain would be Bruno Fernandes. I think ever since he's come to Manchester United, even though he does whinge a lot on the pitch, he has shown that he has got that leadership role in him. A lot of people would say they want Ronaldo, but I think as a captain, you need it as a bit more long term. We know Ronaldo will probably have 1-2 more seasons at Manchester United, and I think if we're having this so-called 5-year plan, I think we need a long-term solution for our captaincy as well. Bruno has had captaincy at Sporting before, so you know that he's got that experience and he's won trophies at Sporting also. I know it's not the league, he's won domestic cups at Sporting, so I think he can lead the team and I think he could lead the trophies, but I think he does need to snap out on certain things such as his whinging to the refs, his diving as well, because it doesn't put good representation as a captain. And I think if he does have them kind of things snapped out of him, because I think Ten Hag probably will say, what you're doing, we've seen him shout at players before. So if he does do that, I think he would be a great captain material.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout, really, because Bruno Fernandes, look, when he first came, we look, oh, he's the leader, he's the player that we've lacked, he brings that desire, that spirit, he's lifted the dressing room. Can't remember the last time we signed a player who had an impact like Bruno Fernandes did. Obviously, it's been a long time. And so I think getting Bruno Fernandes in that mindset when he first came to us was fantastic. Last season, though, I think he was kind of a different Bruno Fernandes. He was very frustrated, throwing his arms around, rolling around the floor. You don't want to see that from your captain, do you know what I mean? And I think that Bruno, we need to cut aside. The first Bruno that I spoke about, amazing. And that's the kind of leader that you want in your dressing rooms. You know what I mean? You saw the clips of him at Porto when he got sent off and whatnot, and he's booting the door and stuff because he's got that passion, that raw passion. That's what you need from your captain. But the stropping and whatnot, when it's not going your way, that's what we don't want to see, isn't it? We want to see somebody get the ground by the scruff of the neck and just take it to the opposition. And I think with Bruno last season, there was far too much sulking. But I think he did cut out to be a frustrated figure. When Ronaldo came in, you have to say he didn't really hit the form that he hit the season before. He was very frustrated on the pitch and off the pitch, it seemed as well, with what was going on in the dressing rooms. It's all been leaked out now. But I think with him, Bruno Fernandes, with a new manager, I think it's very much a clean slate. And I think giving this season to try and recuperate and get that form back, what we know he can reach. And I think he is definitely a future captain. But whilst Ronaldo is still in our squad, Nat, do you think that he should be our captain next season, or would you stick with Harry Maguire?
I'd just take it off Harry just to sort of take that pressure off him. I think every time that something happens, if he makes a mistake or even if someone else makes a mistake, it's all about Harry Maguire. And I'm fed up of it in a way, in that respect. Whereas I think if they lost and it was a Ronaldo was the captain, there would be a bit more respect on his name. In a way, if he missed a chance, there'd be a bit more respect on his name because it's Ronaldo. He's one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time. So, you know, I don't know. I do back what Maisie is saying. I do think that's a good shout. Bruno is a good shout because it's like a more long-term thing. Mm-hmm. But I can see it being Ronaldo as well. So, and we heard if it's for a year. Yeah, we heard about the fractions and we heard about Ronaldo ended up being the real captain and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I just think, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, he's had chats with Ronaldo. Probably had chats with Maguire too. I've heard stuff that, like, he really rates Maguire and Maguire's still going to be the captain. And you hear stuff like, no, there's totally, it's Matt going to move. I just think whatever he wants, it needs to get done. Like, instead of letting it drag out. Because Man United, we know it's going to be a big, massive story. Just boom, done. It's over. It's happened. Yeah. Move on. And not.
I'll be honest. When we didn't get Champions League, I felt a bit emotional at the end of last season when I saw Ronaldo because I thought this could be the last time you ever see him playing for United. Because I genuinely thought if we was getting Champions League, I thought he'll move on. And it just made me think. Has he had a chat with Ten Hag? And maybe Ten Hag said, "Look, stay with us. I'll give you the captaincy next season. Be the front of this project that we're starting." Do you know what I mean? Because that would have been to obviously captain United, who he obviously loves. that could have been a point that kept him staying. We talk about Cristiano Ronaldo here, like he didn't need to stay next season, if we're honest. I know his wages and whatnot are a lot, but you'd think he wants Champions League football. So for him to stay, I was a bit shocked when I saw that he was staying. Obviously, I've seen rumours today again that he could possibly leave again, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But I think Ronaldo, maybe he's had that chat with Ten Hag, and he said, you know what, you can be captain next season if you stay for us. Like, you're still a big part of this club. And do you know what I mean? Because at the minute, there's no backup to Ronaldo in terms of striking options as well. We keep talking about a CDM and whatnot, but centre forward wise as well, we're very short unless Martial comes back in, which I think is unlikely to be the backup to him. So I think going forward as well, we have to look at that. Rashford obviously wasn't quite at form last season as well, so I think that's an interesting one to see, because we want to sign a striker you'd think who's going to be the long term superior to Ronaldo, but short term going to be a backup. So that's an awkward one, because there's not many world class strikers out there. Núñez was one that was spoke about a lot. Obviously, he's now gone to Liverpool, and obviously Haaland's gone to City. Lewandowski's gone to Barcelona. You think, looking out there, and Kunku's just had a new deal as well. Probably it's 60 million euros his release clause, which isn't that much, to be fair, in today's market. So that's an interesting development as well. Just going to read this from Alex very quickly. Alex, thank you so much for that super chat. He said, we need 5 or 6 signings this summer. Looks like we'll be looking to get 1 or 2. How many do you actually think we'll get? I mean, Alice, hand on heart, how many signings do you think we're going to get? Right now, it feels like we could get not -5 signings, it seems like, but how many total do you think we'll get?
I think we need 5, but I think we'll get 3. 3 is the number we do normally stick with, because you go, 3, that's enough to say we've done something. But it's like when you're in a rebuild and you need a right back or a full back, a centre back, 2 midfielders and an attacker, you need 5. But I think it'll be 3, in all honesty.
3. And then obviously you expect a lot of our youth to be given a bit of a chance next season as well. Someone mentioned Pellistri in the chat. I think it was Brush. Yeah, Pellistri is another one that obviously I didn't mention earlier. I mean, Mace, how many signings do you reckon we're going to get, hand on heart?
I actually think we need to strengthen every part of that pitch. We really do. But
if you're thinking about it, we actually do. When you think about it like that, we probably do. Yeah.
But I think realistically, I think we'll get about 3. I think we'll end up getting a midfielder. I think we'll get a centre back, and I think we'll get a right back. I can't see us getting a striker. I think what I've been noticing a lot, there's been a lot more of approach in these past 10 years for false nines. I don't think that suits Manchester United, but I just feel like because of that kind of approach to false nines, we're seeing a lot less natural strikers in the markets these days. I know you've touched on Núñez. Another one who I would take is Martinez from Inter Milan, but his price would be absolutely sky high. Yeah.
I think I read something about Arsenal apparently being interested in him as well. I mean, even Arsenal are signing players before us now, as if like salt wasn't in the wounds enough, like even more is now, isn't it? But yeah, I think I don't even know. I can't trust this club. I know how many we need, but in terms of how many we're going to actually make, I think you're right in saying probably 3 seems to be the average. I'm going to say 3, and also I'm going to say maybe a free transfer like Eriksen, someone like that. So technically 4. But I think we'll probably spend money on 3 players. Maybe. I mean, Nat, you're nodding there. How many do you think?
Yeah, I think like what you think. We'll spend money on 3, and then probably get like an Eriksen free player, or like a real like 1 million, 2 million kind of player.
Like a prospect kind of player.
Yeah. We know we need to like basically 11 players. If we could, but. Yeah, rebuilds don't really go. I just think they need to like properly back him, and even if he wants something in January, just go and just do it. I think if a rebuild, if you can get some now and get some then, just do it like that, and then you can say across the whole season we might get like 5, but we have to sort of spread it out. I don't know, or this is the way.
Well, let's hope it's your theory that it's the domino effect, and then Mane's gone to Bayern Munich, Lewandowski can go to Barcelona, and then Dejong can come to us, and that would be lovely, wouldn't it?
I heard it, so it's someone else's, because then they'll come for me. They'll come for me if it doesn't work like that. They'll come for me. You know how it works.
It's not Nat's idea, but I like the idea. Hopefully that works. But let's switch to the women's very quickly, because obviously I see a lot of rumours as well about the ladies' team. I mean, Nat, I'll start with you on that one. I've seen a lot of your tweets saying just send it to United, and tweeting a lot of different players. But where do you think we'll strengthen first for the ladies' team, or do you think we'll strengthen? I think is the big question.
I think it's the same, like the men's. Really, it's a sad state. They just wait. I don't even know because like there was a rumor well, there was an article the other day that said Leslie's not going to sign a contract and she's going to wait. So it just makes you think, what are they selling them? What are they saying? What's the plan? You know, there was a 5-year plan apparently for the girls, and it just doesn't look like that's gone to plan. Obviously, Katie left last season, now Mark's in. I mean,
But good news about Lucy Bronze, going to Barcelona. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
That's good news for us.
Good news that a lot of City players have left, but then they've just brought in players like that, whereas we're sort of still waiting, like the men, long it out, probably wait till the last minute, get a few kind of deadline day, and they'll hype it. They'll hype it. That's what they'll do with the men. They'll hype things. Oh, I've got him now, and it's lastminute.com. But it's not good really to do business like that. You'd like to hope that and I get it. Like Erik ten Hag came in late, but Mark Skinner's been there for a long time, so really he should have all his players set out. I mean, I want to just put it back on you. So the one that I've heard, the one that's sort of, I don't know how well you know her, that's sort of causing a lot of anger is Rachel Williams. I don't know, like I said, I don't know how well you know her, if you know her. She was at Spurs.
Yeah.
What do you think if we did sign her?
I think I'm at the state. I said it earlier. I'll take anybody at the minute. That's how I feel. I'm that frustrated. Do you know what I mean? I would take anybody. I think Williams is a very decent player. I think when I was United, I don't know why it is. Like, I feel like there's that final piece missing. I think we've improved a lot, but I don't know. Like, we're just not consistent. You know what I mean? I think it's squad depth, isn't it? It comes down to squad depth at the end of the day. I think starting 11 is very strong, but I think in terms of impact off the bench, I think we've got to get squad players in as well. Very similar to what we're saying. I know we keep saying the men's team, but it's very similar in that sense. Got a few star players like Leslie and players like that. Like, we want to tie down, of course we do. Managing to keep owner, I think, is a big deal as well. But yeah, I think time will tell. I mean, the player that I actually played with at England was Spence, who obviously has just left Chelsea. That was one that I was hoping United would be sticking around. I think Spence is a quality squad player that we could have as well. But yeah, I mean, Maze, what's your thoughts on, firstly, Rachel Williams, as Nat just said, but also United ladies in general? Do you think we'll make any signings?
I think if we do get any signings, we do need signings 100%, especially knowing that there's going to be players next season who's going to be running out of the contracts. Like we said, Leslie is not extending her contract as it stands. Honor, her contract is going to be up soon. Jackie Gronin's another one who's going to to be up. Even though the player didn't get used much, Martha Harris has left Manchester United, so we're down even more in that defence. And as well as that, we have got Mannion, who's got her ACL injury, so she's not even going to be starting this season. We're not too sure what's going on with
So how much longer is Mannion out for now? Because that happened obviously before the end of last
November,
season.
Isn't it?
Is it?
If I'm not mistaken, Natalie?
Yeah. So it depends how long. ACL sometimes take a year, because it could be January.
Was it?
It was January when it happened. So
I remember it happening like
into
the season. Wow, it's a shame as well. It's a shame. But I mean, Alice, I'm not sure how much you follow of the women's team, but it seems it's the same picture as the men's. Basically, no signings have been made yet. Linked to a lot of names. Nat's doing a lot of the tweeting and the negotiations, I think, on Twitter more so than the club. It's frustrating, but yeah, do you see much of the women's team? And also, like, do you believe that they'll make any signings, or do you think it's a case of just plodding on for the season and then running out of, like, a bit like with Pogba, players running out of contract and then us being kind of left in the shit again?
I haven't seen much of the women's team, but I know Man United, and if they treat the women's team like they treat the men's team, and like how they treat, like how the owners treat the club in general, then not many signings to be happening. But I'll keep an eye on the women's Euros because I know that's coming up. But I've not been following the news on that side too much. I'm
definitely going to be tuning into I love tournament football anyway. Tournament football for me, I just love it. And in the summer as well, it just feels right. Like, I'm a bit weirded out by the fact the World Cup's in the winter this year, but at the same time, I'm kind of intrigued to see how it goes. Josh, who's obviously Megan's husband, says Lila will be signing in a few years. I've seen a lot of clips of Lila training and whatnot. She's growing. Nat Mains, that's one to look out for in a few years. Meg's daughter, Lila, for sure. But yeah, in terms of the women's, like I say, frustrating, just like the men, like you say, Alice, it's Manchester United, it's how we run, it's just how we roll. Sadly, that's what happens. But ladies, this has been a fantastic show. I want to end it on a positive note and say the domino is going to happen. I'm calling it now. Nat's theory, well, Nat's heard theory. She hasn't made it. It's going to be correct, and we will get Dejong soon, hopefully in the coming days, and hopefully after that it'll be a snowball as well, and other players come in. Because a lot of people think that we're chasing Dejong so much to be the first signing because we want him to kind of figurehead Ten Hag's reign and be the kind of the front of his project. So I think it'll be interesting to see where that one goes, but. Fingers crossed we sign someone, anybody, in the words of Alice. I think we'll take anybody right now. But guys, thank you so much for an amazing show. I think we could talk all night. There's so many issues at the minute that we could just delve into. And it's been great. Thank you to everyone in the chat as well. As always, appreciate the talking points. And of course, thank you to my amazing guests. I mean, Nat, if you start us off, let people know they can find you. I mean, the Twitters are going across the screen right now. But yeah, Nat, shout people out and let people know where they can find you.
Natalie_17, like you said, I do tweet a lot about the women's teams. If you want to keep updated, give us a follow. Only One United is a podcast that we do. It's about women's team as well. So, go and give that a follow. And yeah, hopefully men and women start signing. Hopefully, it's good Euros and both teams do well next year. But here's hoping, guys. Here's hoping. Thanks for having me on.
Absolute pleasure to have you on as always. And ladies in red, like I say, every week we will try and be as consistent as we can, especially with the Euros coming up. It seems like the right time to talk about the women's football, as well as obviously the transfers that aren't happening, but will happen at United soon, hopefully. And big up to Alice for joining me. Thank you so much, Alice, for coming on. Always a pleasure to get you on. Hopefully we can get you on more often as well. Please share out your amazing content. I know you're a big TikToker, TikTok famous over here. And obviously where else everybody can find you as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sophie, for having me on. Always a pleasure to come on this great show. Just type in Alice Talks Football or Alice Talks Footy across TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter to find me. Cheers.
Definitely go and follow Nat, follow Alice for sure. Great content for the men and the women. And of course, the lovely Maze, as always, joining us. Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure. Great stream just beforehand, so make sure you go and check it out. And Maze, let people know what your channel is as well and where they can find you.
Thanks for having me on again, Soph. It's been a great chat. You can find me on my YouTube channel, which is at Devils United, and my Twitter is at @2_MUFC Maze.
So make sure you go and follow Maze, follow Alice, follow Nat, and check out all their content and all their socials as well for more content. But guys, thank you so much. As always, been a pleasure. If you are new, please hit the subscribe button and ladies in red. Hit a like on the video for my amazing guests as well. And if I have missed your comments, just drop it afterwards. And I always look back and check there and I'll respond to you there. All that's left to say is have a lovely rest of the evening. Take care and we'll see you soon.